So now we're going to go over what we call a corkscrew. Which I love. And this is what a corkscrew looks like. And so let's break it down for a minute. What exactly is going on over here? Okay, well, first things first, I'm spinning my poi in the horizontal plane, which is different. It's probably going to be one of the first things that you learn after a few weeks of first spinning poi. Normally when you first spin poi, you're going to keep everything in a vertical plane. And this will probably be the very beginnings of moving your poi into a horizontal plane. So that meaning that one of them, that they are moving parallel to the ground or to the sky, above your head, in front of you, whichever. Okay? Well, what else can we notice about this? I'm doing one round on each up above my head and down below. So in both planes that I'm hitting, up above my head and in front of me, I'm doing one round in each of those planes. Okay? We can do this in both directions. And back. You'll find one direction that, of course, that you take on a little bit more naturally, and I normally suggest that to start doing this, you go ahead and just take a poi and swing it over your head with your dominant hand, and okay, take a look at what direction it's going, and then encourage to teach your other non-dominant hand that direction. And then later on, after you've mastered this, then go ahead and turn it the other way. Okay? So this is one of those moves that I really like to start off with in just one hand. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start in my right hand because that's most people's dominant hand. And for the sake of one of my students right now, he's really into coming from the left side. Seems a lot more natural for him. So I'll go ahead and we'll start that way. But again, I'm going to use my right hand, and some people like to start down in front of them and give it a good swing up above your head. Or I also suggest that you can definitely start over the shoulder where it's hanging behind the back. Sometimes this confuses people because they're palm up already and they don't know exactly how to wield it, and they're kind of nervous about hitting themselves in the head. So you have that option too. A, starting it down in front of your body, swinging up above your head and back down. Or we can start it behind the back and take it around. Okay. So a lot of what I teach when you're one-on-one with me is starting behind the back. And why that is that I see a lot of people's wrists freeze up when they're down in front of them. And starting from up here really gives a lot more focus to what's going on. Excuse me, I'm moving my hair. Down here. Okay? There's a lot of wrist movement down here that I think a lot of people lack, because so many people are really obsessed with getting it nice and swinging over your head. We can swing poi around our head all day long, but I think it's really important to focus on a lot of the wrist movement that happens down here to make it really beautiful. So again, I'm going to go ahead and just start with my right side. And if I'm starting in front of my body, I'm going to lift it up, swing it around my head, and it's going to come down again. Lifting it up, around the head, come down again. And if we go ahead and we start behind our back, we're going to be palm up, bringing it around, big wrist movement and back, big wrist movement and back. So we're creating a figure 8. This is pretty much very similar to a weave, same movement as a weave, but again we're in that separate plane. Now that we're horizontal, so same but different, if you will. Okay. And I'm moving clockwise right now towards the left side of my body. And a good way that I like to have people practice this to get that full wrist movement is to practice as if you were holding a pizza. And if you're holding that pizza, your palm's going to be up. And we want that palm to be up all the time. Okay? So if I come up, my palm is up. It's going to go around, my palm is up. My palm is still up as I'm coming down, coming all the way around. And then back up. Palm is up. Let's get around the dreadlocks. Palm is still up. Bend that elbow. Here we go. Lead with the hand. Again, bending that elbow, letting it come around. Okay. Obviously, you don't want your fingers too straight out if you don't have control. You don't want to lose your poi, hit anybody, or break anything. Okay. But I find that a lot of beginners tend to drop it in the front. And that's due to the lack of, again, lack of wrist motion in the front of the body. See a lot of this. Okay. So, again, we have a big, beautiful swing up here, but we're kind of losing the momentum as we come down. So, again, imagining that big pizza, and you have to do all this work to keep it nice and flat. And then once that poi is really spinning down in front of you, and you feel like you've really got it, go ahead and maybe we'll lose the pizza, but we still want to keep that wrist movement that we have. Okay? So, again, knuckles always pointing where I want my poi to go. Okay? We're going to go ahead and move the poi into the left side. And again, now that it's our non-dominant hand, we're going to kind of have to train it a little bit to make sure that it can go in the same direction and do the same movement that we've just done in our dominant side. So again, we can start around in front of us, swinging it up and around, okay? Or we can also, again, start in the back, okay? If we're starting in the back, we're going to come down and around with that pizza again, coming all the way around and up, around the shoulders, down and around the head and shoulders, around, with that palm always facing up. Palm up, palm up, palm up. Okay. I'm still going clockwise, making sure that I'm in the same direction that my dominant hand likes to go when it's spinning over my head. Now that I'm feeling more comfortable about it, I'm not going to be so hard on myself about making that palm stay so straight up and kind of forget my pizza as long as I'm still keeping that movement in my wrist on the way down. Big circle in front. Big circle. Okay. That wrist movement really gets really tricky for a lot of people, and I encourage you to really focus on that area of it. I like to use hula hoops to teach a lot of people this move, even though they might not be my hula hoop students, because it is a flat surface, and you can really make that flat surface stay, put it on the ground, move your hand. So you also have that option too. But again, just the theme is to have the palm up. So now that we've got our movement on both our right and our left, we're going to practice one and then the other. We'll start with the dominant side, and we are going clockwise, and the left. Okay, if we're starting behind the shoulder, we're going to go right, and back, and the left, and back. Okay, so again, we can practice this from both sides. Either in front, clockwise, up top, down below, left, top, down below. Okay, but again, to practice that big wrist movement that we need, let's go over, around, and back up. over, around, and back up. Around, back up. Around, back up. Around, back up. Around, back up. Now let's start trying to put it together. Around, back up. We'll do 2 on the right. And we'll do 2 on the left. 1, 2. 2 on the right. 1, 2. 2 on the left. 1, 2. Okay? Once we're really feeling steady in ourselves, then we're going to start putting it together. Okay? So again, we can start behind, we can start up front, whatever's more comfortable for you. When I do, now that I've been doing this move for a while, I'm no longer a beginner, so I no longer feel it necessary to start behind my back. However, I'll do so to show you either way. So what we're going to do is we're going to lead with that left, come around the front and up, and I'm going to do a couple to get myself started. And you can lead with the right too if you want to start with the right. Since that's most likely the dominant hand, you can do that too. And once I've got my poi up above my head, I'm going to go and I'm going to go ahead and bring my left one down. So they're alternating. Once one is up, the other is down. Okay. I can also do the same if I start with the left. Going down, going up. Down, up. Always, one's always chasing the other. Let's go ahead and start it if we're down the front. Again, we'll start with the right, coming up and over and down. We'll give ourselves a few rounds to get ready. And again, once we're up, the other one's going to come up and follow. And end. If we go ahead and we start left, up, up, and the right's just going to come and follow on back here. So once you get the 2 of them going, is again, once I see a lot more of that wrist movement disappearing, we really want to make sure now that we're not getting into a vertical plane, which a lot of people kind of gravitate towards. Trying to keep those poi up above our head, parallel to the ground in front of us. We see a lot of people kind of transitioning into a windmill, which is a very similar movement, as you can see, but we're just in the whole nother plane there. Okay, you should be able to bring this up, beautiful, nice, and around you. Once you have that down, go ahead, start back from the top, turn yourself in the other direction. You'll definitely favor one direction other than the other, just like you favor one hand more than the other. But I encourage you, especially for poi, to always go in the opposite direction. It's going to make your performance a lot more spectacular, and in the end you're going to have a lot more fun. Okay? So if you have any other questions about it, go ahead and leave a comment or message me. But this is your corkscrew.